various degrees of moustaches on our faces, and we'll talk about why that is. I like this question because it's one that'll probably have us all arguing about, what is the answer. So John's asked,
what does my comfortable level of income in retirement look like? What does it need to be? What are my goals? What are my objectives? Now, I did do a little bit of research on this.
Good morning and welcome to the True Potential Do More With Your Money podcast. It's episode 96 and it's Friday the 26th of November. Today we're going to be looking all around your questions and hopefully providing the answers. So for that I'm joined by an expert panel, hopefully experts at the end of it anyway. So Aidan O'Kane, good morning, how are you?
Morning, I'm very well. Greg, yourself?
I'm alright, thanks,
Good.
yes, good. David, how are you doing?
Very good, very
Good.
good.
And Martin?
Yeah, good.
Everything well with your world at the moment?
Yeah, excited to be here.
Fantastic. Well, for those who are listening on the podcast, they're the lucky ones, I think, because they won't get to see our faces. And for those that are watching, will probably understand it. There's not a problem with the lighting in the studio. We, in fact, do have various degrees of moustaches on our faces, and we'll talk about why that is in a moment. But when we came in, I said it kind of looks like the lounge of a 90s snooker club, with moustaches and waistcoats on. But Aidan, it is a good cause as to why we look so stupid, isn't it? Do you maybe want to explain to the listeners and watchers why?
Yeah, so basically we've been taking part in Movember, which is a charity that helps with men's mental health. And the course of that, effectively what you're supposed to do is grow a moustache from the beginning of November and raise money over that time. We've set up a charity page to do that. Not just ourselves in the office who've done it, a number of the other chaps have been doing it as well, to varying degrees of success, I would say.
Yes. So we have, who else is doing it? I know Chris is doing it, Abbas is doing it.
Yeah.
And I think Harry was going to do it, but then was told off from his girlfriend he wasn't allowed to do it.
That's what I heard,
because he would look too silly, so there you
right.
go. We don't obviously have anyone from our investment management team in this morning, but Martin, I know you've had a quick catch up with the Jeff Castnor, Chief Investment Officer, this morning. What's Jeff talking about and looking at the moment?
Yeah, it was just a quick chat really, but I think Jeff simplified it for me to understand it a bit more. But I think it's a mix really of what's going on. So I think across in China, it's good news with the People's Bank of China's reports showing there's going to be some stimulus, which is good.
Yeah.
Europe, not so good. Austria and Germany, I think, with their respective lockdowns. I think the Netherlands, Holland as well, there's lockdown going on there. And I think because of that, they're seeing a bit of a sort of negative impact on what's going on with that. And then over in the United States, employment rates have shot up really high at the minute, which is, I think, quite outstanding, which is really good, positive news for over there as well. But I think really that's just my take on it, and like I say, a simplified explanation. I think what yourselves and what the listeners can do as well is definitely subscribe for the morning markets, the daily sessions, and get it from the experts instead. So Jeff and Chris, George, who
little plug in there to the morning markets as well, which is never going to hurt us, is it? So, look, gents, we obviously have a number of questions that have come in. We've looked at them a little bit to study some answers and provide them. But just kind of before we dive into them, I just wanted to quickly, and apologies, I'll probably have to read some of this out, but this was from a viewer of last week's podcast, and also that watched your introduction video, Martin, earlier in the week and really enjoyed it. So straight down the camera for this one. But Judith and Phil Pern, thank you very much for your comments, because not only do you listen to all of the podcasts and the like, but you said you enjoy them, and I even enjoyed that you find them amusing. So at least if anything, we're funny, gentlemen. So
funny looking.
Just to quickly read it out. Hi there. Regarding this week's Do More With Your Money, I would like to ask the following question. We'll go on to ask the question in a moment. But then it goes on to say, I forgot to say, both my husband and I enjoy watching it weekly. It's very interesting, very informative, as well as sometimes it's amusing. So, thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Pern, and we'll probably start with a question from the couple there. So, if you're planning on drawing some money when you're 55, can you book the amount before your birthday? So let's say you're 54 and 9 months, you're 3 months away. Can you only request the money at the point of your birthday, or can you do it in advance?
Well, I'll take that firstly, and what I would say is, in the first instance, with ourselves on the platform, yes, you certainly can book that in. So say you were coming up to your 55th birthday, as this example is saying, if you wanted a certain amount of money to be effectively a birthday gift to yourself on that day, you could speak to our teams at head office, the drawdown team there, and they'll make sure that the sell down's been done and the cash is available for it to be dispersed on that day. That's certainly the case with ourselves here at True Potential. I can't comment about other platforms in the industry. I know there's various different styles of doing things, but it's certainly a real string to our bow is the flexibility we allow people with their investments and ultimately their own money. Is the way I would take it. And I don't know if you've got anything else to say on that, Martin.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In essence, it's money that you've saved over your lifetime for your retirement. You know essentially what you're going to use it for. You'll have an objective for taking that. So why not have the facility to take it on your 55th birthday for the purpose that you want? And it is Flexi Access Drawdown is the technical name. So that flexibility has to be there, really. And I think that shows with True Potential we have that available and deliver that excellent customer service. So
I think probably one important thing to say is that you can take as much as or as little as you like. So if you want to take the full 25% tax-free cash out, you've got that availability. But if you just want to take, a couple of £1,000 out of your investment or something like that, it's all there. It's all easily accessible.
I think that's kind of an overarching answer, isn't it, Aidan? Which is absolutely months in advance. You can book it in. You can have the cash ready, and on your birthday you can receive a nice birthday present.
Yep.
And it was your birthday just this week, Aidan, as well.
It was,
so,
yeah.
Not quite 55. That's not next year, but you're nearly there. But it's probably worth us kicking that one round for our listeners and viewers, which is it's not mandatory that you turn 55 and raid your pension, put it all in the bank, and we've covered this on many podcasts before, David. But
yeah, that's right. I think it is something that some of the financial advisors that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, they'll have clients speaking to them about, I'm going to be coming up, and my plan is I'm going to take my tax-free cash, and like we've said, that's absolutely fine. It's your money. You can do what you want with it at that point. I think you should consider though as to what you're using it for. Are you using it for the purposes of just taking it for the sake of it?
Yeah.
Or is it for a specific purpose? And the reason that you need to be asking that question is because you could potentially affect your pension pot and your retirement plans if you were to take too much out and perhaps spend a little bit too much to begin with. So just something to be aware of there, I think, as well.
Yeah, I remember Jamie Sexton, who's one of our financial advisors here at True Potential, or one of the roles he does here anyways, and he always sort of starts with it's actually bad advice to turn 55 and you have to start with that mentality. It's the wrong thing to do until it's the right thing to do. So yeah, I think that's important. Mrs. Perns then added a second question, so because you are so nice, we'll absolutely answer it. What is the minimum amount you can take as a monthly income, or is there no limit? So, gents, I mean, let's kick it off with, first of all, there's not. At True Potential, we don't believe in minimums and maximums and so on. So, we don't say you must take £10,000 a month, for example, or you're not allowed anything else. And I know a lot of providers in the industry do have that because of poor technology, or it's very much an administration task where they actually even charge you to take income. Yeah. So they're a bit like a cash point where you've got to you get charged to take your money out. Do you maybe just want to kick that one off, Aidan? Which is some providers actually do not only have problems in paying you monthly or an income, but they charge you to do so as well.
Yeah, I think, when pensions freedoms came about, we were ahead of the curve technology-wise straight away, which was fantastic to see. But what we saw in the industry, and one of the things, in my 10 years of working at True Potential, it really surprised me was a simple administration task like setting up a client's drawdown. They were charging an hourly rate to set these things up. Now, one worker could take 1 hour, as you know, Greg. 1 hour, one worker could take 3. So where's the value in that for a client when actually it's their money to receive anyway? There's nothing that should be stopping them from doing that. And what we subsequently saw actually was some of the other providers in the market were unable to keep up with the Flexi Access drawdown, the ability to give clients their money on a regular basis as the sort of an amount of their choosing. And it's really became one of those things that you've got to be aware of with the platform provider that you're going to. Do they give you the full suite of access to the drawdown facilities that you may need? You might need to take a lump sum at some point. You might want a regulars to start at a certain point, finish at a certain point. These are all important things that are available through the True Potential pension and the platform itself. So really, that's what I would say in regards to that, Greg.
Cool. I hope that answers those
Yeah,
questions. So, next up, we've got a question from Sean. I always find it funny we get questions. The names are always people that work at True Potential, but it's a different Sean in this case, no doubt. So, do I have to stay with the workplace pension my employer picked, or can I transfer to a True Potential pension?
That's a good question.
It is a good question. If I just started, your workplace pension will stay where it is if it's an auto-enrolment, as an example. If it's a group personal pension where your client's just contributing into it, you're more than welcome to move that onto the platform and take the employer contributions with that. Auto-enrolments, they have to stay in place unless you don't want that auto-enrolment scheme anymore. And then, you're more than welcome to move that onto the platform, have a personal arrangement, select your, the TP portfolios as an option there. So, in terms of the workplace pension, it certainly depends on what the product is probably what I would say in that instance. There's nothing stopping it from our side, but you might want to look what exactly the workplace pension product is in this particular scenario.
Yeah, Martin, do you quickly want to just explain the difference between a GPP, which is not a general practitioner, a group personal pension, and an auto enrolment, as Aidan's just mentioned there, just for the listeners?
Yeah, so the group personal pension scheme essentially is just the one scheme that's contributed in towards, and from there you, upon reaching retirement age, will be able to draw the income from that. With the auto enrolment scheme, when you're employed, you should be automatically enrolled into the scheme. Usually it's one of those where it's normally a low cost, not a huge fund range type of scheme. So I'd say I don't want to say a basic scheme, but a very simple, easy to use scheme, which again, the question is probably being asked because Sean is thinking, well, maybe I could explore further options with investments and things such as that, which a personal pension will allow you to do.
Yeah.
Again, so that's I'd say the key difference between the two schemes, but then also personal pension as well.
So it's important to understand what type of pension you've got first, isn't it? That's probably the main one there. The next two questions we've got coming in, this is from Paul and from Phil. Thank you, gents, for the questions, and I'll probably group these together as almost one discussion point for us, gentlemen, which is from Paul: how much money in your pension pot would you need to live comfortably, assuming you've got no mortgage? And then Phil's kind of asked a similar question, which is, how much would a couple need between them to retire?
Yeah.
So probably this is just kicking around the idea of how much do you need, but obviously there's various degrees of what's comfortable to you. David isn't comfortable to Martin.
Yeah.
So let's kick this one round for a few minutes, gents.
Yeah, exactly right. I think it's probably important we group them together because the overarching thing here is going to be, you're planning for your retirement. At what point can I retire? When can I finish work? What do I need to have in the bank? Probably the other question that goes along with that, which any person needs to consider is, what does my comfortable level of income in retirement look like? What does it need to be? What are my goals? What are my objectives? Now, I did do a little bit of research on this, so I've got a couple of figures here which I'm just going to kind of share with everyone. So looking at couples, and I've looked at a couple of various kind of places to get the information from for this. The general consensus is around about £18,000 per year is what's needed for essential, covering essential costs, so your household bills and probably just a little bit of discretionary spending for going out for a meal or two a month, what have you. So that's what's considered to be the essential number. Now, comfortable for a couple has worked out around about £26,000 per year. So let's think about that in terms of you've got your 2 state pensions coming in at retirement age, and that's going to provide you, around about £19,000 per year. So to reach that comfortable level in retirement, you're going to need to have somewhere or some way of drawing an extra £7,000 to £8,000 per year. Now, that might come from another source of income. Perhaps you have a rental property or a defined benefit occupational pension. It's going to provide you with a guaranteed income. It might be that you're going to draw down from your pension pot, your personal pension, your savings, things like that. And just to kind of finish off on that, the luxury level, if you like, was around £41,000 per annum for a couple. Just to look at for a single person as well, for essential, we're looking at about £13,000 per annum. So, just a little bit over £1,000 per month is what you're going to be looking at. And I think all of these are taken into consideration. You don't have mortgage payments to make. Again, for comfortable, you're looking at around about £19,000 per annum. And for a luxury retirement, so to speak, you're looking at around £31,000 per annum for a single person. So I think probably what I would say to bear in mind for this is, if we take into consideration the comfortable level for a couple, which was £26,000 per annum, and as I mentioned, you're looking to draw or receive another £7,000 to £8,000 per annum on top of your state pensions. If you think about that for a single person, and you're looking to receive £8,000 to £9,000 per annum for your state pension, you're going to need to find another £10,000 to £11,000 from other sources. So, as I mentioned, your defined benefit pension or your personal pensions. And actually, with a bit of calculation from these figures, what it would look like to be at that comfortable level, you'd need to have, if you were a couple, £155,000 in your personal pensions and other savings to be able to draw from that, throughout your retirement to maintain that comfortable level. Obviously, again, as we mentioned, for a single person, that's going to be higher, and that's going to be around about £193,000 per annum. So, a lot of figures there to just think about, but something to bear in mind. And I think that you've got to look at how you're planning and what level of comfort, if you like, you're after in retirement as well.
I think that's great information from you there, David. And I think also a strong suit, again, a true potential in the platform is, for those of you who are using the client sites, there's goal setting tools on there.
Yeah.
And one of the main options when you're looking at how you want your money to work for you over the time, you can either have it marked to be, you want to hit a lump sum at a certain point, or you want a retirement income at a certain point. Now, using those figures you've used there, David, you could say, I want 26k per annum, or you might go for the 150k lump sum figure that you want to hit. But it's important that you outline those targets now, I think, rather than getting to retirement. We see this all the time in the building. People get to retirement and they don't know how much they can spend in a year, and actually they've probably got more money to spend than they actually think, and they're quite scared of it. And I think that's why it's important to constantly be looking at these things and just make yourself comfortable with the fact that you're going to be all right if you keep on doing what you're doing and investing. And I think also just highlighting those figures, obviously they're very generalized for the UK as a whole. I think I just stress that for those living in South Kensington would be very different than those living in South Hilton, as an example.
You've just stole my joke there, 'cause I was going to say where you're from in Sunderland, Dave, that's, you might need a couple of shillings to make it into retirement, but if you're from, say, posher parts of the world like Martin, then, you might need a lot more. And you're right, the technology's the big leveler for me, isn't it? What's the point in having a pension? It's to retire.
Yeah.
What's the point in retiring? It's to be comfortable, or indeed live the luxury life of, I don't know what luxury you could have with £41,000. I'm sure many.
Plenty of holidays, I think.
Plenty of holidays,
Yeah,
so
I think
look,
that's a crack, isn't it?
I think you're dead right, Aidan. The technology's the main thing, and for any existing client, set a goal.
Yeah.
Log in, set a goal, and then at least track it now and then to see where you're at. That's a real important one.
Yeah, I think for me, just to sort of contribute to that, is what I would suggest is save now for your retirement. The thing to do is to use the technology that you've got to set up the pension, to set your goal, log into your app with True Potential to track it, but use the impulse save feature as well when you've got some spare change, even £10 just kicking around. Put it in your pension, because when you get to age 55 or beyond, you'll thank your younger self and you'll say, I'm really glad I did it then, because now I can retire more comfortably, whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
So that would be my top tip for the day for the viewers.
Yeah, absolutely, Martin. Thank you. Next up, a question from John. I like this question because it's one that'll probably have us all arguing about, what is the answer. So John's asked, is it a good or bad idea to switch funds, such as growth to defensive, during times of volatility? Now, this is
I saw that question when it came in.
This is the age-old question, isn't it? Because it's kind of that, you're in the, let's say, everyone's been through the airport and you've got the customs queue and you see that queue's moving a little bit quicker, you jump in there and all of a sudden the guy at the front, takes his coffee break. Is it worth jumping queues, or is it worth just staying in the queue you've picked? And that's always the analogy, I think, is look, if you really, your attitude to risk doesn't change every day or every week or even every month. And we've got 5 bandings at True Potential: defensive, cautious, balanced, capital growth, and aggressive. Really, they shouldn't change. Maybe annually. You might have a different outlook, and obviously we do client assessments at least once a year to make sure clients are invested. But let's take John's position. The market's, volatile. David, would you be looking to check every day about jumping into that other queue in the customs lines?
No, I mean I am one of these people that checks log into my app every day to look at my pension and my ISA and see how they're doing, see how the markets are doing. But no, I think for me personally, my experience is I've got my attitude to risk, as you've said. Unless my circumstances have changed drastically, like my personal circumstances out with what's happening kind of outside of my personal circumstances, I don't think it's the right thing to be. You're almost chasing, like you say, the queue to get in the best queue. I don't think, for me personally, that's the right approach. If you're a balanced investor, the reason you're in a balanced portfolio and the portfolio is designed to deal with the external factors, things that are happening in the market, and you've made a decision as to why you're in that category, because you can deal with a certain level of volatility, ups and downs in the market, and that's why you've picked there. As you say, it should be reviewed regularly, should be something that you're considering, but I think for me, overarchingly, I would say I stick to kind of my attitude to risk.
Yeah, and
generally.
I think just to jump across, Martin, obviously you're head of compliance for True Potential Advisor Services. You look after over 700 directly regulated firms giving advice to consumers, and if one of your advisors, you noticed, there's a bit of a dip in the market or a bit of a growth in the market, if they were chopping and changing like that, what would you be saying to them?
I think the message that the FCA themselves sent out the start of the pandemic was for advisors to reassure clients that there may be circumstances where fund switch or even selling down into cash would be suitable for those clients, but in reality their overarching message was don't look to do it. Because I think in terms of suitability, if you consider a pension, for example, and obviously we're younger gentlemen in the room, but it's over a longer term that you're looking at. So yes, there may be a market dip now, which is quite a scary thing to look at for a number of clients who maybe see that huge decline and say, I don't like the look of this. But if you consider it's over the next 30 years or so, then there's plenty of time to remain in even an aggressive fund with higher rates of volatility, because then over that period it has the potential to regain what has been lost. And certainly the concern for advisors as well is a client who panics and wants to sell down into cash when the markets rebound, missing out on potential growth from that situation as well, which leaves them in a worse position. So it's one of those where it gets a bit rough at times. Imagine you're on a cruise liner, gets a bit rough at times, but it'll steady off and you'll have a great time moving forward, hopefully.
Apart from you'd be on a cruise ship.
But it depends where it is as well.
Well, apart from that,
if it's in Barbados, it might be quite nice, but not
on rocky seas.
Not rocky seas.
I think ultimately volatility's part of the game. We've got to live with that as a fact when we're investing in the markets. And I think as a growth investor, there should be an expectation that there will be an element of larger volatility with what you're doing, but hold the line, and you'll see hopefully the positives from that. And I think the prime example we've just talked about it previously, but when the pandemic started, we did see some people move into cash, and it was actually all in all, performance-wise, 2020 was a very good year for ourselves. So a lot of people missed out on very positive growth for a knee-jerk reaction is probably what I would say in that scenario. And the other side of that is, you're moving from portfolio, you could miss out on those 1-2 days that were the best of the year, that really saw the best growth. And, they say, it's not about time in the market, it's about timing the market, which we've said on this podcast many times before. It's a great saying. It is a great saying, yeah.
It's being in the market, isn't it? And not trying to, time your run, because by the time you've seen the drop, it's already happened. You're reacting to something that's happening. By the time you see the market bounce back, you're investing.
I think probably just one final point, Greg. Apologies, but that's what the investment management team are here for as well. They're looking after these portfolios and making sure they're trying to reduce the volatility as much as possible, and keep the gains for yourselves. So that's why. Ourselves in the room here, hopefully yourselves at home, invest in the True Potential portfolios, because we've got experts around the globe who can take these decisions on our behalf.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you're right, and that's probably again another angle to look at the question. Which is if we had Jeff or George or Paul or Chris in the room with us, probably what we'd be saying to them is it's these guys manage the volatility, not you as the end consumer. A balanced portfolio will behave balanced overall, and you're a balanced consumer. Let us ride out the market volatility. So good answer, Aidan.
Thanks.
Aid has asked us a question which is a proverbial tap in here. So he's done all the hard work, and he's took on 3 players and he's crossed it in for us to tap in at the back post, which is how easy is it to transfer a cash ISA into a stocks and shares ISA? Don't all chomp at the bit there.
I guess I'll probably start on that one. It is very easy, Ed, for you to do that. We have the technology on our client sites. There's an option there, transfer investment. You can put the information for your cash ISA into that, and you can choose the various True Potential portfolios. It takes you over about 5 screens. Simply just saying, what you want to invest in, what portfolio you want to invest in, or you want to set up a direct debit, all these various things, then the terms and conditions, and then we'll start working from there. Now, if the cash ISAs with a bank, which the majority of them will be, we'll get in touch with them using our electronic services to transfer those across, and they're generally pretty good in that regard. So it's very easy to do. And what I would suggest also is, if you do log into the website and you are struggling to maybe find that, there's a number on there to get in touch with customer care or customer services, and they'll be able to help you through that process also.
and it's probably worth pointing out as well, Martin, I'm looking at you as the Mr. Compliance, but you don't lose any tax treatment either, which is important.
No, nothing like that. You still have your ISA allowance of £20,000. And I think when you look at cash ISAs as well, in terms of inflation, they're going to struggle really to perform against inflation.
Yeah.
So I think for those considering it, it's certainly worth a look at a stocks and shares ISA as an alternative. And with the easy route that Aidan's described there, it's easy to set up and manage as well. Again, using your app and logging in and keeping track.
I know we've done a full podcast on cash versus stocks and shares products, and probably for any listeners, if you've got another 45 minutes spare, maybe go and listen to that one. But basically it is easy, Aidan, is that what you're saying? It's dead easy and online?
Yeah, it's all online, it's all using the client sites. Very straightforward to do. Obviously, if you do have a financial advisor, please speak to them. They can help you with it as well. But yeah, very straightforward from our end, and we've got people who can help you through the process if needs be.
Absolutely. Thank you. Next up, a question from Kevin. This is going to put us on the edge of a cliff, this question, gents. What are the advantages of an advisor when investing in an ISA or a pension? So obviously at True Potential we deal with 25% of the advisors in the UK, but also we have a proposition that deals with consumers direct, so we can almost wear two hats with this one. Is some cases you will need a financial advisor, that's when you reach into, say, allowances and tax implications and so on. But let's look at maybe the examples first of all where you may not need an advisor. What instances would you probably not maybe need?
I think
stage?
When you're starting your financial journey, say you're in your early 30s, it's probably a fair example when people start to save in their pensions in their ISA. These are very simple products to set up. You just need to know how much you're able to invest every month, and stick to that really. And I think, at that stage, it's no different than treating it like a savings account at your bank. You're building up the assets for your future life. And I think, as you say, when future life events come around, that's when advice is really needed. I also think for someone who is self-employed and they've got a lot of income, which they need to look at how they can put it into their pensions, into their ISAs. I always think it's great to have a chat with a financial advisor at that time, to see how best to work with the self-employed arrangement. But certainly, when you're coming into retirement, I think that's probably the key one we would all say. But I don't know, Martin, you probably the best one to talk about this one as well.
Yeah, I would agree with what you're saying there. I think in terms of simple cash ISA to stocks and shares ISA, in that scenario, you don't necessarily need an advisor, but as someone who's got the badges, done the exams and passed the qualifications, it is a case of they are the experts in this arena.
Yeah.
So when it comes to technical information or difficult advice to receive, speaking with an advisor is certainly something that I would recommend, because you go into an expert who's going to work out your CGT, capital gains tax liability, and any other areas like that. That's their job, that's their bread and butter. So you would go to that person. But if you can do it yourself through technology, then it saves everyone time and is nice and easy for everyone. So
fully agree with that. I mean, I think quite succinctly put there, to me it's about kind of where you are in your life cycle, I suppose, which is, as an early investor, you're probably just looking to build up your assets. Perhaps once you're heading towards retirement or at that point, you actually maybe do need to speak to someone to get a more concise picture of exactly what that's going to look like. As we mentioned earlier, what do you need in retirement? What levels are you looking at? And a financial advisor will help you with that. They'll help plan that out for you. So yeah, I think
I think for me, I always just give analogies, which is anybody that's seen me on the podcasts before probably will laugh about them, but for me, I had an electrician around the house this week, and it was to do a pretty mundane and simple task, but for me it was dealing with live wires. It was dealing with earth wires and neutral wires, and I don't understand that. I'm not going to want to go and do it. Why? Because I could blow myself up. I could, do some damage that's irreversible.
Yeah.
And that's always the mindset, I'd say, with financial advice is, if you go and do that thing, which could be taken, say, money that you've got in a tax-treated ISA, and you move it into a general investment account, you're never going to get that. You could do damage, which, going over your lifetime allowance. There's lots of things in there which could have a big tax implication. And HMRC won't go, we see you've made a mistake there, we'll let you off. Doesn't happen. I always think if you're not sure, just go for the help. And I think that's one of the great things we've certainly got lined up at True Potential is we offer both.
Yeah.
We haven't sort of, gone down one route or the other. So, yeah, my simple brain just thinks, well, in real life, you get the man or you get the woman out to do the job that is qualified and skilled and able to do it. And,
yeah, exactly right.
And sometimes you pay for it, but actually you get that sort of almost
it's
peace of mind,
assurance,
don't you? Yeah. It is. The guy came out and took him about 3 minutes to do it, but made me feel, pretty weak and pathetic. But what's new? Just getting on to the last question, gents, or maybe two more left. But this is from Pierre. I'll just get on to the question because I think this is a tricky, again, another one that might have us divided. But how much money should a child get and why? Now that's all Pierre asked us. So I don't know if he's, maybe got a child that's on the naughty step and thinking, do I cancel the pocket money? Or
I was going to say, how naughty is the child is the question, really, isn't it?
Well, Aidan, you were a wild child, weren't you?
Yeah, well, if my parents are watching, it's all of it. So, that's what I would say in regards to that. But, it depends on the relationship with your child, really, doesn't it? It is, it's one of these things that's, people don't just think about their retirement and how they're going to live. They think about how they're going to pass that money on and how best to give that to the children. Now, I think probably it's just as good a question as that is, which is, how much should you give to a child? It's also what products should we be leaving for the child? You've got to make sure that, are they in pension assets? Are they in ISA assets? What's the best one for them to, receive after unfortunately your unfortunate demise, so to speak. I don't know if you guys have a certain amount that you would suggest to leave to a child. Strauss will probably say nothing really. They've got to
nothing.
Fight for their own.
Not. Yeah, exactly. They need to stand on their own 2 feet. No, I mean I'm joking. I don't have children, but I would say just kind of looking at it from when they are children and you're looking after them as a parent, at school age and stuff. For me, it's quite important. I think something that my mum and dad did with me was, I got a bit of pocket money. Not a lot. But it started to teach me a little bit about how to manage my finances, how to manage money. And that's actually served me well going into adulthood as well. And, obviously you've got products such as a junior ISA that you can start your children off with investing at a younger age. And then, quite rightly, as Aidan says, once you get kind of to the other side of the of the spectrum there, it's looking at getting everything in order for inheritance and things like that as well. But yeah, for me, I think it's important to start reasonably early. One of the things that I find I still struggle to get my head around is that financial literacy is not taught at school, and so for me that begins at home. That's where you need to make that start with your children. So. Something I'll certainly be thinking about when I do have children.
I think the junior ISA point's a good one as well, because we see a lot of them invested on our platform now, and when we spoke to people about what's this for, effectively what they're using them for now is university fees for the child when they get a bit older. Maybe hopefully a deposit for a house if they can with it. So I think those products are if you've just had a child or you think you've got young children, these products are very worthwhile things to get for them. It's not just about what you're giving to them now, as we were saying before. It's not just about the money you have now. It's about the money you're giving to yourself later. This is money you're giving to your children later in a junior ISA or something. That's a good point.
The junior ISA is one of those products that's absolutely under the radar. It really is. almost half the allowance for, say, a 5-year-old child into a tax-free savings vehicle as to what an adult gets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if obviously you're in a position where you're able to save as a parent, which I know sometimes isn't as easy, Junior ISA is a fantastic product.
Yeah, I think the allowance is £9,000, which increased exponentially. So previously it was around
5,800, I think.
something such as that. Yeah, it was certainly a lot lower. So £9,000 each year available to save into a Junior ISA is a lot that's going to benefit them moving forward for university fees and other things such as that. But I totally agree with the financial literacy point as well. It's not something that's taught enough. So if you'd asked me when I was 16, how does a mortgage work, or anything about a pension, I'd have absolutely no idea.
Totally
But
agree.
I'd like to think I'd know how to do some maths calculations, which I obviously can't do now. But one advert I'd seen on the TV was a new app where your child gets a card, but you can monitor everything through there, which again I think is a great way to show how technology in the industry is teaching the younger generation how to manage their finances, which obviously the education system right now doesn't have, but it has to start at home, which is how I've learned how to manage finances as well, and yourself and probably everyone around this table.
We've talked around this on podcasts, but you can go online and you can just get into debt in a matter of seconds. You know, I especially say at this time of year when it's coming up to the festive time and people are buying over the top gifts and so on, and you go online and it's Klarna and it's buy now pay later, it's pay over 6 months, and you're thinking, I'm spending £100. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. If you can't don't go into debt for it. But totally in reverse, for us to put even an advert on, Christian I think mentioned this last week on the podcast, if he wants to advertise about a savings product, say with True Potential, the risk warnings, the guidance we've got to put on there to put money into savings then puts you off doing it, because people will just think, well, I'm not going to bother because I'm almost put off from doing it, versus go on to ASOS now, buy something and spend £30. Do you want to pay over 6 months? Well, people are just going to do that and put themselves into debt. So you're right, the education needs to be improved. But let's go back to Pierre's question, because we've dodged that one well and truly. How much money should a child get and why? So David, you're saying nothing.
No, nothing. Well, no, obviously. Given the answer I've just said, I think enough for them to be able to manage. And what I mean by that is, buy some sweets down the shop. But then also maybe say you're going to put some money in your piggy bank or what have you.
And there was I can't remember, but there was a celebrity recently, and I want to say a basketballer, but I can't remember, who said his children are getting nothing. I can't remember who it was, but this is a guy who's like a billionaire.
Yeah.
And he said his children are getting no inheritance whatsoever. He wants them to do it on their own. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Don't know if that was LeBron or someone like that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe Big Shaq or someone like that.
Yeah.
It might have been Big Shaq, but not that I know anything about basketball. Well, gents, we've got one more question. Let's quickly fire this one off. And last but not least, this is a question from John. What is the best way to find any forgotten pensions I may have elsewhere? So not down the back of the sofa or, in the back of your wallet. But let's say somebody's had, I think on average people have 9 employments in their life. So that could potentially be 9 different pension schemes, as we mentioned earlier. You might also set up a pensions account direct and put a direct debit into there. But where would you go and find these pensions?
Yeah, so I think probably the starting point's got to be, of course, the internet, Google.
Yeah.
That's where you'd go, and I believe there's a pension tracing service that you can obviously go on the website. It's free of charge, so I believe it's just a case of probably putting your national insurance details and your personal details in, and then obviously there's the team behind that will look at that for you or try and find the pensions for you as well. I think obviously aside from that, if you know who you've worked with previously, perhaps if it's a workplace pension you're looking to trace, it's getting in touch with your previous employer to try and find the details.
And I know
there.
David and Aidan, you gents are helping a lot of clients at the moment with reviewing their defined benefit pension, which is quite important.
Yeah, I mean, just to mention the pension tracing service, we've had clients use that and discover that they've got a defined benefit occupational pension that they previously might not have realised they had, or certainly they might have realised they had it, but when it comes to once they've done the pension tracing and they've got their their transfer value, their cash equivalent transfer value, the thing that they've surprised them the most is how valuable some of these assets are. We've seen people find a pension on the pension tracing service, was an occupational scheme, and it's life-changing amounts of money that they've had, and there's lots of cases where these are still out there. I think there's probably the vast majority are still out there in the ether, where they need to be consolidated and kept in one place. And I think, even we're talking about the occupational pensions here, you might have small other company pots that have built up. They're still valuable to get into your own personal arrangement and get into your own structure, because at the end of the day, if you don't take it, the company will just take it back.
Well, it's your money, isn't it?
It's your money, exactly,
I had a just under £3,000 pension. I was able to use a tracing system. I had to dig in to get it. It took a while. It was probably about 3 or 4 years after joining True Potential, so it did take me a while to even really bother about it. But the good thing is I've got that £3,000 now invested with True Potential, but the growth on that's been phenomenal since. So I always think people say, well, it's only £3,000, over a period of time that's going to grow, and I always think it's better in my pot than somebody else's.
Oh yeah.
So Google's the answer, David.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, we've answered all the questions. Well, we've gave answers to all the questions. I don't know if we've answered them all, but thank you, gents. Very, very helpful today, and hopefully all of our viewers enjoyed that as well. Before we go into the closing comments, I think just a quick one from me. I wanted to make an apology on last week's podcast. I made an error.
Oh.
When Christian Gardner was talking about my driving, I said I drove like Daisy Duke and not Miss Daisy. So apparently there's a big difference, which Daniel Harrison, who's one of our avid listeners and viewers of the podcast, also chief executive for True Potential, noticed. And what he said is, apparently Daisy Duke is the lady that wears the little denim shorts, and apparently she drives really fast. So
that would have thought it
that was something I learned yesterday. So I'm not Daisy Duke. I'm actually Miss Daisy, which is
hello, Miss Daisy.
Yeah,
the wrong Daisy. So thank you, gents. So that's it, ladies and gents. Thank you all for your questions in advance. We hope that we got through them all for you. And just a quick one. I know. We started with a laugh and a joke about our moustaches, and Aidan mentioned about what Movember means, and it is a serious subject. So for any viewers out there, if you do want to get in touch, you just want to speak to either one of the chaps here on the podcast or anybody at True Potential, you can reach out to us. So our social media channels on the likes of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they all have open messaging, so do get in touch. Or if you're a client with True Potential, log into your site and get in touch with a member of the team. We're always delighted to speak to any of our customers. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. If you did enjoy today's session, please do remember to like and also subscribe. Thank you.
Subscribing to the True Potential YouTube channel is quick and easy. Simply go to the channel on your desktop or through the YouTube app on your phone and click the subscribe button. You can then press the notification bell symbol if you wish to be notified as and when new videos are released. Doing this is a great way to keep yourself updated with market developments and personal finance insights. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, and we look forward to continuing to help you do more with your money.